Well, I think I've been an artist my whole life, from the crib. I can only go for so long and not be creative. Like, I can't go that long at all. Creativity comes out from me in many forms. Just the everyday experience of living life and all the stuff that's going on, not just to me, but to other people, yes, sir, are all fodder. And so you internalize that, and at some point as an artist, you have to externalize it. Some artists have to get into the process of making their art, and while the art itself may not have anything to do with what the issues, it's something that they do that they can ground themselves in, and that's positive for your mental health. When you're trying to be good at something, the thing that you know is what you'll represent the best. And so it was just a matter of time before I started painting native images and then putting my own experience with that. So at some point, yeah, I circled around to my roots. I'm half Norwegian and half Indian, so I explored both sides of my bloodline. My dad's Scandinavian mutt, and that's why I look white. While as everybody else, the rest of my immediate family is all black hair and brown skin, so I stand out in that regard. So I got to experience native culture up close and personal, but in the skin of a white man. So when I hang around other white people, they assume I'm white. And so then I get to hear what they really think about Indians. Just say it right to my face. So that led to a lot of interesting situations. And I have been the only kid in the class that looks white, and having to deal with that in a big inner city school, on a reservation school. But I witnessed all that, so. And those things color into my art at some point. When the Indians see my art, I think they get a sense of pride. They like it. I haven't had any negative reactions so far, and I'll take it all, you know. I've had people, one of my first sets of paintings was very political. I had a person come up and look at my painting and said, "That's like 35 years of American guilt." I was 36 years old. I was sitting there, I heard him say it. I'm like, yeah, these are things that have happened in my entire lifetime. I was born in '66, so I'm born in a super tumultuous time in this country, at a time of great change and a lot of great art. And I think a lot of that is inside of me, a lot of that 70s. A lot of my stuff has a 70s throwback side to it as well. And a lot of the artists that I like, and my first early heroes, were all the underground comic artists and concert poster art. For the most part, I don't want to paint to the realistic colors you would see. Like when I painted a wolf, I did it all in reds. You want to see a realistic wolf painted down to every detail. There's 100 people that do that, and they do it very well. I generically refer to it as duck stamp artists. Those guys, it's perfect in every way, and it's like my inherent disregard for that is, why would I want to paint something realistically when I could go outside and go look at it? I mean, I live here. There's wolves here. There's ravens here. I know what they look like up close and personal in reality. I don't want to paint that. If you posterize a black and white image and say you hit it with 3 levels maybe, well, then you get your blacks, your whites, and then your 50% gray in between. Well, you could take all the areas that are black, trace that outline like this, and then I just start dividing that space, you know, maybe her cheeks or her forehead, or maybe it's the shape of something that she's wearing. At some point, it just becomes distilled into a shape. You know, it's like dividing up a map. Here's the high ground, here's the low ground, and it's represented by a certain value. Well, then I just take that, extrapolate it into color. The idea of that comes out of the graphic field, and I just apply it to how I paint. One of the techniques I do is, I guess, comes from the Dutch masters, where I do everything with sepia tones, with umbers and ochres and those kinds of yellow browns, and I'll do the value painting first. For the artist, it's the journey getting to the end piece. As the viewer, I suppose you can take the end piece, you see what you got, and then maybe you want to follow your curiosity. How did he get there? And that's a whole other thing. And then some artists will tell you that. Some artists will communicate it in their title. In 2010, I got a grant from the state and I had my first show, which was a native theme. And that was called Native Sun. Very big paintings, 48 by 56 and 3 by 4 foot paintings. Just before COVID hit, I did a show, went to DAI, it was all native theme, second show, and that one was called War Paint. And that led to a bunch of engagements from another entity called ACO. And they gave me a show, and that's what I'm painting for now, and that one's called Indigenous. So this will be the third show with a native theme. Initially, I'll be happy that people can just come out and see some artwork, for one thing. I think when I've seen natives look at my artwork. I had one guy come to my first show in 2010, and he just started crying. Crying hardcore. Like his face was flushed, he was sweating, tears were just pouring down his face, but he was smiling and kind of almost laughing. He's like, when he said the strangest, he's like, I didn't think anybody cared anymore, or I didn't think I'd ever see something like this, For native artists to paint something big and colorful on a huge canvas isn't done a whole lot. And like one of the last guys that did it of any note coming out of the 70s is Fritz Shoulder, the Indian chief with a big ice cream cone, And I have pieces like that too, where it's a sense of humor is added to it. Natives have awesome sense of humor. I don't think most people realize that, just how great our sense of humor is. And it's probably true of anybody that feels like they've been oppressed or shortcut or run over or marginalized. They almost have to have a really good sense of humor just to survive. So I think that comes through in the art. So anybody that sits and talks with me after a while, or even looks at my artwork and sees the imagery and the things that I've done, they're like, he didn't read that out of a book. He knows part of what he's painting. There's a connection there that they can't deny. I'm proud that I'm Ojibwe, I'm proud of my native heritage. If I can be that next great Ojibwe painter, yeah, why not? But that's just my ego talking to me, and at some point, yeah, you're full of it. Yeah. Who cares? And the guy saying who cares, sometimes it's me. It's funny how all that stuff comes full circle, But as far as of having or being a talent in any way, it can never just be all for me. I can't. I have to share or give back. That's just probably one of my philosophies, and that comes out of our native culture too. Indians didn't paint like this back in the day, so this is a new thing. But we're still here, we still exist, we still have our cultural things, but our expression has grown because of the things around us have grown and changed.
Indigenous, the art of Shaun Chosa. Opening reception Friday, June 10th at ACO, 212 West 2nd Street in Duluth, Minnesota. Free viewings on Fridays from 4 to 6 p.m. from June 10th through September 16th. More details at aicho.org.